Yeah, I mentioned it last week that when we click on this and I say, oh, this is really good, and then I did this little button right here and I said add to the spring show, that doesn't work. You know, it goes into the computer world and just disappears. The school isn't actually using that. So for you have to go to the part of the class that says, I think it's under discussion maybe. So yeah, it's under the discussion. So use this link right here under the discussion area to submit for the spring show. Please, I think it's always a good thing, especially if you win, All right, so Mark, it looks like you uploaded, is this new? Is this smoke new here?
I added a little bit to the smoke, yeah.
All right, let's just take a look at it. You know, this was happening yesterday too. The school server was like being overwhelmed or something. And it took me like 10 minutes to get the thing to respond. There we go. I just refreshed it. All right, so I think that you've got a good thing going here. I think this is too fast. So
Okay.
slow your smoke down. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to like, let me just take one more look at this.
Should be 32 frames total. I think I exported more than I needed to.
All right, so you have, so you said, come on, Zoom, wake up.
48 frames.
48, okay. Zoom, wake up.
Gosh.
I'm waiting for Zoom to respond here. There we go. All right, so a couple of things. You said 48 frames. So in your timeline then, oops, hold on. It won't let me see. In your timeline, you have all your layers. There's 48 frames.
Yeah.
So what you would need to do is make sure that everything is finalized. I remember we talked about this a little bit last week, that I think that you can up your aesthetic here on these stalagmites. So I think you can fix your BG, you know, make it more interesting. You know, like for instance, I think that these lines here in the cave, they're all too, they're all the same. They're all the same distance away from each other. Give yourself a little variety where there's one here and there's a little one, and then just, you know, skip this one and then do like 3 here and then change the direction here. Even this would be behind the smoke.
Yeah.
And then do 2, you know, skip this one and make this stuff up at the top. And so get this little ridge up here, you know, and whatever you need to do, go in and do research about what underwater caves look like. And I think at that point, what happens is that you look at it and you see that this is the cave wall, and that somewhere in here is the separation, the line between the cave wall and the cave floor. And I think that you can differentiate that just by color. And you could just paint this wall, the brown that it is, paint these stalagmites just a brighter or darker color, probably a darker color. You know, more variety of shapes. And remember, some of those stalagmites are really sharp. They're really straight looking. And so I think that kind of variety of shapes, and remember that these are just kind of like ridges in the wall, right? And I think that adds to the effect right here. This little hole in the sky, I think it's too clean. Make it more organic. Break it apart, right? And you know, that's suggested. Okay, so that's just your BG. Before you do the next thing that I'm going to tell you to do, go in here and fix this. Now, let me just take a look at my notes. Did we talk about bubbles yet? All right, so we can do this today, and you can fix these little bubbles here according to what we'll do today. I'll even do it first, I think. And I'll do it in, Yeah, I'll do it in my rough animator application. And I'm only going to do, oh, sorry, I can't do that right now. Just, I'm going to do that because on a Mac, you're not allowed to have more than one Toon Boom file open at the same time. Okay, so we'll fix this in just a minute. But remember that I think this is too geometric. Even this little pond could use more of an organic kind of shape to it, right? Whatever you're doing. So fix all of that and get these bubbles working so that they are, if you have one, make one bigger and then make a couple of the other ones smaller. And then we'll talk about timing those here in just a minute as well. All right, so we get all that fixed. And once you've got that fixed, take all of these layers here in Toon Boom and copy them and paste them. So now you've got 96 frames. And just see if the 96 frames is okay. So what is your smoke on right now? Is it on 2s?
It's on 2s. I think I did not communicate clearly. It is 16 frame. It is yeah, it's 16 frames repeated 3 times. So 48.
So drop it to 4s because it's moving too fast.
Yeah, it's on 2s.
But when you do that, when you drop it to 4s, now it's going to last this whole cycle. So it's going to be 96 frames as well, but all the other things are just looping on top of themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't need to draw. Do I need to draw? So I just stretch out the timeline to from 2 to 4.
Remember that the deal here is that when you copy and paste all of the stuff that's here into the second part right here, that all of in Toon Boom, all of these elements become symbols. And whatever you do to frame number 1 in whatever it is, the water, it's going to happen in frame number 1 down here too, because that's how symbols work. They borrowed that nomenclature from Flash because when they first put Toon Boom out, they were trying to take over for Flash. All right, so it's just that's a quick fix. It should be just a quick fix.
What do you mean by symbols?
Symbol is like a stamp. Did you ever work in Flash at all?
Long ago.
Yeah, so in Toon Boom, you can work with objects. You can draw anything on the stage that you want with the geometry tools. It's the most horrible drawing tool ever. But Flash can work really good with like, because it's a vector application, you could make like a bat, and the bat could just be a bunch of lines that you change the direction of those lines with the cursor on your mouse. You would never use a digital stylus in Flash. It's not meant for that.
So you're saying the smoke would become stuck in place?
No. It'd be that whole a symbol is a rubber stamp. It's like, and so whenever you say, I'm going to take this bat that I've made, and when you create a symbol out of it, it becomes a rubber stamp. And now you can use that bat anywhere in your composition. And the thing about the way Flash works is that doesn't add data to the final file. It just says, repeat this little stamp here, here, and here, and here.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
And that's why in Flash, when you export a SWF, a shockwave file, that the shockwave files are tiny little movies. And in the past, what happened is that advertisers, website developers were using those shockwave files as banner advertisements. And whenever you would click on Target or Amazon or any website and you saw something that was animated, like an animated, it wasn't a GIF at that point, it was a SWF. And it would animate it, and that would catch the client's eye. And they would go, oh, there's a little flying airplane, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. Their website is interesting. But the problem is the shockwave files were notorious for holding viruses and all kinds of nasty things in there. And so websites, when they switched to HTML5 about 10 years ago or so, began switching about 10 years, moved away from Swift files into animated GIFs, which are a little bit more secure. And nowadays with HTML5, you can even put security codes inside the GIF so that people out there can't put viruses on and just like things that you click on anymore. They're still figuring it out, but a symbol is a stamp. And in Toon Boom, there still is that stamp. In Toon Boom, if you look at your library, comma, pause, pause. If you look at your library and you click on something, if it's a symbol, and this is a symbol because I copy and pasted it. Remember?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, if it's in your library like this, then it's a symbol, and you can see that it's animated in there, just like this. That's borrowed from Flash. That's a direct borrow from, well, it's a direct borrow from Macromedia Flash, and Macromedia sold Flash to Adobe in 1995, 1994, something like that. And it's really efficient. The thing is that any repeating, like I have this same fire in 4 different places in this volcano project here, and it doesn't add any data because it lives as just like a little rubber stamp.
Okay.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me get to the other part of our critique today. Does that make sense to everybody? I know that the idea of symbols can be really foreign. All right, so I see that 2 people have submitted final tornadoes. And so that was today, I think, right? That's today. So let's take a look at Yu's and Justin's. Okay, so you, I like what's going on here. So let me give you some pointers. Zoom, hello, Zoom. All right, this line right here, separating the clouds from the background, that's way too straight.
Okay.
It's way too geometric. This needs to be more organic. And so I don't know what you did right there. You could put a blur on it. You also might be able to work in some clouds that are actually moving. Let me draw this one a little differently. Like these clouds here could be more like this. You know, pieces of clouds, little places where the air has kind of ripped the clouds apart, and those are moving this way. And you put those between this cloud right here and the background, and that'll help fix that. This is okay. I think your lightning needs to be connected a little more. It was interesting just yesterday on social media. They were looking at this lightning that was happening somewhere where it went from the ground up. Did anyone see this? It was like all over Imgur last night. They looked like trees. And then there were like 4 of them right in a row. And it went from the ground plane up into the sky, and it moved slowly. It was creepy. All right, I think you need more of these guys. These are okay, but I think you need more of them. You need some here, you need some here, you need a couple here, you know, here, here. And so where I said that this line is too straight, So is this one, or whatever. If this is a mountain range back here, then make it a mountain range. Oops, sorry about that. Then make it look like it's more mountain-esque or whatever it is. You could make some cityscape. And the idea here would be is that you could do a couple different layers here. And you could get some sort of depth of field just by putting in a couple of different layers. Know what I mean? You?
Yeah.
All right, so everything else is coming along. Just touch that up. Yeah, I think that you want to connect these pieces of the lightning.
Oh, the
And remember, I
lightning
think that the
back
one thing that really
up
helps the
in.
lightning is if you use that little thing that we talked about with the flash. You remember what we talked about for the lightning?
Yeah.
So in this quick demo here, there's nothing for 16 frames, and then the lightning comes in and it's all connected. And in this example here, I could make this part of the lightning a little thicker. I could make this part a little thicker, this part a little thicker, just to get some variety of shapes. And then it goes to a silhouette, right? It goes to a silhouette. And then it goes to the lightning again, but now the lightning has grown. And then it goes to another silhouette. And then the lightning finishes and dissipates. So in this example here, I talked about the idea of using the flashing black and white frames. And so in your project here, I think that when the lightning happens, you can do a couple of different things. You can flash the whole thing. This part is a little bit more labor intensive, but it could be really interesting. Come on, Zoom, wake up. So when the lightning happens over here, I think that what you want to do in your layout is, well, that's weird. Hold on. You want to start it from a certain place, and you want to have it end in a certain place. And I think that what happens best is if you think like lightning. Let it have like more of an organic kind of shape to it. And do the process that I had just shown you where it grows into this shape. And then what you did, oh, you do have a white frame in there. Yeah, I didn't see it. Okay. So yeah, just connect your lightning a little more strongly, because the one little nagging thing that I always don't like is when I see lines that look like they were drawn with a digital stylus. So yeah, I think your lightning just needs a little bit of work right there. All right, and then we have Justin.
Yeah, like I said, it's not finished, but I'm trying to get like closer to where I want to get it. But I've been focusing more on the volcano.
Right. So do you know what you're doing here? Do you know what you want to do? Do you know where you're going with it?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea of where I want to go with it. I just I'm trying to get like the timing on the ribbons right, and then I'm gonna work on the clouds up above it.
All right,
And then from
remember,
there I'm gonna add the rest of it.
we're in week 9 right now. We're in week 8 right now. So you do have time. Just don't get behind.
Well, I'm already behind because I missed a couple of weeks when when my computer went down. So
all right.
I'm still trying to catch back up.
All right, so let's take a look at the volcanoes that were posted for today. And there's a bunch of them. That 3 right there was just the new stuff. All right, what is this, Charlie? All right, so it looks like you took the advice I gave you on this smoke back here pretty well. I'm going to give you some suggestions. Come on, Zoom. Hey, Mark, is there something that I need to say to Zoom to wake it up? There we go.
I find that kicking it always helps a little bit.
Kicking it, yes, that always helps. All right, so on this smoke back here, I think that it's working pretty well. It doesn't look like it's going backwards or anything. So on any particular frame of it, go in there. And I think that what you can do is adjust this so that you get some thinner parts and then some thicker parts, but then put a hole in it. Go in there and animate a hole going from like this position to that position and then off the screen. All right, and today I know that some of you might be interested in how to get something moving like this in Toon Boom, and we can talk about that today. The lightning flash is working pretty well. I think that's okay. Your fire's right up front. Your fire's in the foreground. And so I think that the thing that's going to make this a better quality is if you go in here and you really kind of give this much more detail. I think that because it's in the foreground like this, it's the aesthetic is calling for it. You just have to go in there and use the same timing, and I think that you can repair this instead of redoing it like the story that I always tell. But because it's right up in front, give it a lot more detail. Just go in there and add a hole going up through it, cut an outside shape right here, and let this outside shape move upwards. All right, and I think that, remember that this volcano here is a mile away. It's 1 mile away. So this lava is moving way too fast. Way too fast. These guys are okay. These little droplets are okay. I think that they could be better. I think that you could just leave them where they are and let this lava flow, or I wish I could Command Z. And I think what the better thing to do here would be is to take this lava and just kind of let it go over here. And remember, it's moving too fast. So just let it go off the screen like this. So if you're going to have like a little rock or debris in it that's moving downwards, then just animate it off the screen. And then let this be more like a pond or a lake or something.
Okay.
And then instead of just having these little guys here, give yourself a real splash. Give yourself one that, like I demoed last week, that's really big right here. That'll be much better for you.
Okay.
All right, so those are good fixes. I also think that you need the projectiles coming out of the volcano. Well, you have them, but I think that it might be more interesting to add, just keep what you've got, but add the projectiles here where they look like this.
Okay.
And there's just a few of them where there's the burning bit of lava and then there's like a trailing bit of smoke behind it. All right, so that's okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charlie. All right, Justin.
Yeah, I'm still not happy with the steam. Like I really don't like how it looks. I really got to go in and work on that.
Yeah. All right, so a couple of suggestions is that this last cloud right here has tons of tiny little outside circles. And remember, one of the things we talk about from day one is a variety of shapes. And so I think your clouds start out okay, but then they get like this sawtooth. So keep your aesthetic the same. I don't know, maybe it's, yeah, it's the first frame that might be at issue. Like I said, remember when I was doing my smoke demo that one of the reasons why I pick the cartoon shape is that it's just easier to animate. But you do want a variety of shapes in there. And so even if you pick something that's like this, which is not the best aesthetic, it's easier to animate. And it's also easier to keep it consistent. It may help you to do this kind of smoke out here so that it's actually, it moves like this way. It moves to the right and then to the left. And so that the little circle smoke puffs go to the right and then get bigger and go up to the left. And then use the one on the right here to just be more steamy. And so this one is just kind of like that. And it moves even slower. And so all it does is just steam a little bit. So this little thing right here is probably okay, this little lava bit. But I think that what you might want to do is just, instead of like it looks like a snake swallowing a mouse, just make it like little black pieces of debris. And remember, this part here can move really slowly. So if you wanted this to be the steam, then just kind of, that's not exactly how I wanted to draw that. You know, you could do something like this with this steam down here. Yeah, get rid of this. This little snaky thing's not working. And let me see what your water splash looks like. You know, I think it's okay, but I think you need more detail here. Add more detail in this water. The lightning is okay. Simran.
Here.
I'm studying it here. All right, I have a couple of suggestions for you. Now, this is a good place to give you some notes. Come on, wake up. All right, are you ready for some notes?
Yeah.
All right, so again, variety. So this bits of lightning in here are okay, but get some shapes that are fatter, thicker. Don't make it look like it's just one pencil line. The
Okay.
pencil lines are okay for like the stuff because that's okay, but for this, make sure that it's more organic.
Okay.
I already switched on my drawing tool, so I can't go back and play it. But I think that you could use a little bit more variety of outside shape here. Or you know what might work better is if you add in some little bits of smoke on the outside.
Okay.
All right, and I think that this is just a little inconceivable that one little drop, something here from the fishing rod is causing this. So what I would suggest maybe is to draw a fish.
Yeah, I did have the fish on there, but it was a little too big and it didn't work well with the water drop, but I
Yeah,
can,
because it's right
and-
here. You know, are you game or animation?
animation.
Animation. So what might work is that the line goes into the water, and you can do this thing where you redraw the fishing rod a couple of different times so that it moves back and forth. It just wiggles.
Uh-huh.
And the way to do that in animation is you start with your main key. This is drawing number 1, and then you move it to the right. This is drawing 3, and then you move it to the left, and this is drawing 5.
Mhm.
And then you just repeat this 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. I'm sorry, 1, 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 3, 1, 5. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So that it goes 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 3. And so it wiggles back and forth.
Should I try that for the palm trees just to make a little movement?
Yeah, you do the same thing with them too. So and if you use this distance here, the distance of motion, let's say, is only about that much.
Mhm.
Make sure that this distance isn't the exact same, so that it doesn't look like it's twinning.
Okay.
And I think that once you do that, I think that you have to do it to all, especially the tip. You're going to get the most motion at the end of the frond of the palm tree itself. Let this thing wiggle back and forth, and then pause for like 16 frames, and then have a fish jump out of the water and then land back in. He's the one that got hooked on the hook, right?
Mhm.
So let him jump out of the water and then back in, and then make your splash bigger.
Okay.
Don't use this little one, use a big one. Look, you've got all this stage here. So just make it really big. And your fish can be really big too. It can just be like, it could be like a marlin or something. You know what the marlins are?
Yeah. I
You know,
can
make it like a marlin.
Okay.
You know, everything else is looking okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, I think there's a couple more here. Gabby, this is new for today. Okay, you took my directions last week pretty well. All right, so I have a suggestion on timing for you. Gabby, are you listening? Gabby?
Yes.
Okay, so these giant drops of water here need to just come into the frame just a little bit. And remember, we talked about this last week. But they're on 2s. These guys should be on 1s. And like especially this guy right here, this is the first drawing of the water. That's drawing number 1. Or let's say that in your project that it's actually drawing 17, right? So that's just like the head of the water. This little droplet of water here is now drawing 8. And then this one is drawing 9. That's
Okay.
it. 7, 8, 9. That's it. And the fastest it could be moved, let's say that you go out to frame 17 and there's a giant one right here, right? This is frame 17, and then this one is frame 18. That's how fast they move.
Okay.
So these guys are moving too slowly. And then I think that what you can do is in the mid ground is, remember that the timing here would be, these guys could be on 2s right here. So this would be frame 33, 35, 37, 39, 41, 43, right? But then in the deep background, you can have like little just, it just depends on how much you want to do the rain. Remember, we didn't talk about rain for everybody, but the timing would be This is as fast as you could get it to go, the 17, 18. And then this is really fast, 7, 8, 9. And then this is mid ground, and then these are backgrounds there. I think that's
Okay.
all you need to do. Let me take one more look at it. Yeah, everything else is looking pretty good. The water splash. Yeah, everything else is looking pretty good. Just your rain is not falling correctly. It's too slow.
Okay.
And you know, it's like, it's almost like you want to look at it and go, is there some weird Wes Anderson kind of Guillermo del Toro kind of thing going on there where you could make it really slow? In other words, if you make it slow motion on the water,
Mhm.
have you ever seen Wes Anderson do this?
I think so.
Where like everything will be moving at regular normal live action kind of speed.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden it goes into like this slow motion thing just for like effect. I don't think I would recommend that here because everything else is, you've worked on the timing really well. And so, yeah, I would just time the water so that it looks more natural.
Okay.
Because you do have this ethereal, impressionistic motion happening with the water, but it's too different than all the other stuff happening. So just let the water move fast.
Okay.
Just let the water move really fast. All right, Matt.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Where's your cat?
She is chilling in the sun.
Oh, there's sun, huh?
Yep,
All right, I
and
gotta
light
refresh
coming in the
this.
window.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, Mr. Matt. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, I like your smoke. It's great. At this point, I think if you tried to animate that lava, it might be kind of weird. Are you thinking of trying to animate the lava?
Nope, I thought it would be kind of weird.
Yeah, so don't. The fire's looking great. Fire's looking great. The water's looking great. So in order to just polish this, I would do a couple of things. One, the shape of your little pond is kind of rough. So give yourself a final shape of this little pond right here. And I think that a suggestion would be is to let Zoom wake up when I want it to wake up. Your water, is the water splash in there? Yeah, it's in there. It's not the very best water splash I've ever seen, but it's okay.
Just small.
It's okay. Yeah, I think that what you want to do is you kind of want to go, hey, let's go around our palm tree. If you want to go all the way out here, just give it more of an organic shape. Let it go off the screen here. And like that. I think that would look better. And then also kind of just think about the interaction of the water to the dirt. And so give yourself like a second shape in here where the water is moved around a little bit and it's just made the dirt wet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that'll help. And then, without animating, I think you definitely want to put some weeds right here and then something here, because I think that you need to dress this up just a little bit. I think that this is okay. This aesthetic right here. And I think that you should maybe darken that line right there at the end. I think that's okay. And the rules of art go is that if you're using this thickness of a line for this mountain, then this black line here needs to be thicker. And I think it's against the laws of art to interrupt this volcano with this kind of line. So take this fire and move it down and to the left to about right here. right? And you know how to do that, right? Reposition all drawings.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and then let the volcano live by itself. You know, give it more of an organic footprint. Let it live by itself. And then this is like a ridge, right? This is a mountain range in the background here, but this is just a hill. So then give yourself more of a natural hill that's right in between those two things, between the foreground element here. Your volcano is in the midground, and then this is the background way back here. So this is thin, this is thicker, and then let this line that makes up the line that separates the hill from the volcano be really strong. A really thick brown line that just delineates the hill. And then at that point, artistically, you're going to need a shadow underneath the fire itself. So put a shadow under there. And then you might need a bush right here. Just it's really close in the foreground. And then an animation trick would be is, you know, give yourself some bush that's really close up into the camera up here. So there's like a bush that's like right in front of the camera. And then maybe something here. I don't know, but it's calling for something right here. You know, maybe some clouds that are in the deep distance. Like that. And in a moment, I'll talk about how you can move these clouds. So you just draw them once and you move them. Do you know how to do that in Toon Boom yet?
Yeah, I could do that.
It's really easy. So the idea would be is that if you draw these and they're only animating from, I'm just going to use this to be the starting position, and they go from here off the screen. Let's say that you just take it and you drag it so that they go all completely off the screen. The problem would be is if you loop it, they're going to animate off the screen and then they're going to magically pop back in. So one of the tricks of doing that is maybe getting them to be over here too, so that they cycle properly. It's a consideration. It's one thing to think about, but you do need something here. And then because this is all in the foreground, you're going to need some weeds right here. And you know, this is right in front of the camera here, so it's just maybe some rocks, something. You know, it's looking pretty good. It's looking good. So those are your notes for final polish.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
One thing just in the narrative is that it kind of might make sense that if this water droplet coming off this giant plant is dropping into the water, that means it might have just rained. And so because it might have just rained, one thing that you could do here is make a little puddle. Give yourself some extra little puddles of rain and maybe just a few little extra last raindrops of the day, you know? You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
That might help. So like for whatever I drew there, you know, just make a couple of little puddles somewhere. All right, so this is good, everyone. There's lots of good stuff to talk about today. All right, this is you. Okay. Okay, let me get my sketch tool up here. Zoom. Okay, I think that these lines right here are okay. I think this line is okay, just make it thicker. And it's a little inconceivable that you have a strong outline for your volcano, but then it's all just kind of airbrushed right here. So you may want to go in here and put in some lines that just kind of dictate ridges in this volcano. You know what I mean? You can put them right on top. You can just add them to it. All right, and then I think you need to work on these lines right here. So you have to imagine this is a pool of lava here. I think your bubbles are working okay, but just give yourself a better shape of the line of this. And then this lake here, remember that it's water, so just give it a better line. And then for this volcano, make these extra lines stronger. Just the same theory. It's the theory is called atmospheric perspective. Anything that's away, and really you could make this mountain lighter, really, really light. Keep this the same color and then make this dark. That's the rules of atmospheric perspective. And then, so make these lines right here stronger. And then worry about this intersection here. Really just kind of define this part right here as well as you can.
Okay.
The tree is in the foreground here, so it's going to need, so if this line is okay, right? Or you make this lighter and this is okay, and this is darker, this tree has to be really, really thick here.
Okay.
So just give it a really strong graphic line to it, and then break it. Give yourself a little bit of daylight right there. Something like that. Right, so remember the rules of atmospheric perspective apply. Clouds are looking okay. The debris is looking okay. So those are some quick fixes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Oops,
Thank you.
hold on. Okay, Shane. So I think your bubbles are okay, Shane.
Okay.
And I think I like this smoke, but it's just moving way too fast. So
Yeah.
slow it down by a factor of 3 or 4. Got it?
Yeah, I need to add more frames to it.
Well, first get the timing right. Just take the timing out in Toon Boom and stretch it out so that you get the timing first, then go back in and do your in-betweens. It's
Okay.
also a little inconceivable that this volcano is like just so symmetrical like this. So you might want to think about the aesthetics of just the shape of this volcano.
Okay.
What else you have lightning to put in here?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about clouds or lightning.
Yeah. Yeah, but rethink the shape of this volcano. One thing that might help is if you,
Yeah, I will make it more organic.
well, I think definitely more organic, because it's just looking like a cone. I think that one thing that might help you here is think about this. Think about having this mountain kind of drift off this way. Right? You following me?
Yep.
And then this is the away side of the caldera. And then you can see right into the caldera. So you're going to have to add a little extra smoke in there, right? You're going to have to add this little bit of the smoke, but it might be really cool to show the open caldera. This stuff here might have to be redirected so that, and remember that this is supposed to be lava because what you have here makes it look like ice cream. So remember, this is molten rock. And so get this to be like more lava-esque. So this kind of fix will definitely help you like that.
Okay.
All right, and then these little projectiles are moving too fast, just a little bit too fast. Well, what might work is if you just pick an area like this, right? See what I'm doing there? It spins,
Yes.
and then maybe 1 or 2 go out this way. Maybe this one goes like this. All right, and then you need lightning. Right? I think you're on the right track. It's just, it's not there yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. All right, this is Sharon. Okay, I like your smoke in the background there. I think the timing is working okay. You still need to add the lightning and your fire. I would suggest maybe some smoke off the fire. That might be a good idea. What else are you going to put in the shot? Sharon?
I wanted to like add some maybe like smoke effects and stuff.
For the campfire?
Yeah.
Okay. You need lightning?
Yeah.
And I see that you've got smoke that goes up. I think that's starting to work pretty well. But I think you also need some debris coming out of the volcano. Your composition looks really good. It's going to be really hard to work water into this. So my suggestion would just be to put water in its either in its own project or in your final. It's looking pretty good. I don't think this guy needs to animate. Are you going to have him animating?
I'll probably just put like a character without like moving.
Right. Well, he could be holding a stick that's cooking a hot dog or something. And the hot dog could just be moving up and down, cycling really slowly. So
Yeah.
it's looking really good. You just got to finish it.
Okay.
All right, Alex.
Wait, I uploaded the wrong one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Go ahead and put it right on top of it and I'll come back to it.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? So let me refresh the page. All right. That one?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna draw for you. Can you imagine how much faster this would go if Zoom just woke up when I wanted it to? All right, so just a couple of notes for you. You know, again, I think that this aesthetic is really good here for your smoke. I really like that. Your lightning is good, the flash is good. The timing on the fire is good, but I think what I want you to do is just add a little bit of the orange bits so that it spreads out a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it's looking a little too contained. It looks more like the fire that you might find on a stove. So just add a little bit here and here, and then maybe like a tree that is actually burning. So let this be like a downed tree. I think this stuff right here is too chunky. Take this and really just lighten it up. Make it thin. It looks like it's just too fat. It's too thick. Let that one go away, right? This part up here is okay. Make the near ridge of the caldera more organic. And then if you want to, you can make one little bit of lava that goes behind this rock. And then this might be the one that animates. And then you can just draw like a little rock or a little extra thing animating from here to there that goes behind this rock. In order to get that to read, the line that separates this small big rock, make this stronger. Make it a stronger line right here. Does that make sense? Like the rules of atmospheric perspective. And then follow that through with the other ones as well. All of these little smaller hills need to have a stronger line on them. So then the other thing is that you have to define what this is. If this is a hill that's right in front of the camera, then give this the strongest line possible. Let it be really strong. Fill this in with color. And at this point, you know, you can draw some sticks, some reeds, some weeds or something. All right, and then you're going to put a water splash right here. Do you have room for a water splash?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be is to paint this thing blue and do a water splash that's like this big right here. Right there. It's right in the center of the camera. Again, I think your smoke is working really well. Your fire is okay too, but it's just a little contained. And if you know what you could do in order to get everything to read better is to have this fire and the down tree, move it up just a little bit. And you could take these rocks right here and move them more towards the midground or even the background. And so that'll give you more room for this little pond, this little lake, where you can do a big water splash. All right, those are my notes right there. All right, and that was good. It looks like everyone responded for today. That was really quite good. If those would have been in my inbox the other day, your midterm grades would have been a little better. So no worries. We're still at home. We're still waiting to get back to our lives. So I will accept these as updates. And now your P2 grades will be more accurate. I was hoping midterm grades would be more accurate, but now you're all starting to work right now, so that's good. All right, so one thing that I would like to do, let's take our break right now. Let's take a full half hour. When we come back for the break, I want you thinking about a production challenge. And the production challenge right now is I want to see a small sketch of what you're thinking of doing for your final. Okay, just remember 16 by 9, just do a pencil drawing or drawing in Toon Boom and get ready to just upload it. I'm going to put a folder in the class right now so that we can look at it. And So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a demo, a really quick demo on mud and getting things to move in Toon Boom. And then we'll do the production challenge. But the production challenge starts like right now. Just do a drawing for me for what you think your final is going to look like, a little sketch. Just like I did in day one. Remember that little drawing I gave you all? All right, take a half hour. We'll see you all at,
I've got a question.
yes, Mark.
Does it, I think I got confused on what folder I was supposed to put my stuff in. I put my volcano and my tornado in the late folder.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. And
Oh, I might have missed it because because I already looked at it yesterday or something.
no, I just posted that this morning.
This is Mark talking, right?
Yeah, you looked at my smoke, but not my tornado.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll look at it when we come back from break.
Okay.
Take a half hour. I'll leave my screen right there. Take your break. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is just a refresher, if you will. And I realize that not everyone might have had exposure to the concepts behind atmospheric perspective. I just did a drawing search here in Image Google, and the first couple of sketches, they're kind of whatever. They're not exactly what I was looking for, but there is that sense there. You can see that this tree in the foreground here has really dark, very detailed delineated lines and shapes. And as the trees go into the midground, the away ground, the background, not only do they get less defined, but they get a lighter color. And so this one's okay. This one, I think that it could be more dramatic with the car and the road here. I think that the amount of detail in the foreground could be quite a bit more. This one's okay with the guy's hand in there. This little tree here is interesting. And I was almost ready to kind of switch and go to a different search. When I saw a couple ones on bottom, this is really kind of childish here, where all the mountains look like whipped cream. This one's okay. But the ones that I found down here were actually working a little better. I like this. I like these little thumbnails here where there's a really strong silhouette in the foreground, and then the sense of midground and background are hinted at. So these are really nice. I like this. This drawing here of the rooftops is kind of okay. This one was interesting. We're just in the very, very simple rudimentary foreground, midground, background. It's not the best composition or anything, but it's okay. But once again, I was just this is nice. I like this because it's fast, it's sketchy, it gets to the point. This one, I'm not convinced that this one's not working here. But then there was one other one that just kind of caught my eye. Oh, this one is nice. So when you're looking at things that are just from historical art, we can see the presentation of atmospheric perspective in our eyes when we look down the coast, California, and anything when you're looking at long distances. But this sketch here really works because all these foreground elements are nice and strong and detailed. And then as you move away, it becomes less and less defined. This is good. The whole idea of atmospheric perspective really works pretty well in communicating an idea. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, and I haven't done this, what I'm going to do is just take atmospheric perspective, take the word drawing out of there. And just remember that in the pure essence of it, that any of these work. There's smoke, there's haze, there's fog, there's particles in the air that are all hindering our ability to see details at great distances. I think that this one is interesting. It might, I don't know if this was just done in Photoshop, but there's a gradient between the medium tone of these mid mountains, and it goes to a gradient here where it's a little lighter on the bottom. It's an interesting kind of a take on it. This, an interesting build, an interesting example of atmospheric perspective. Okay, so in our classroom, what I had done was put in a folder for sketch of final production challenge, sketch of final production challenge. And if you could put your little drawings in the right there, we'll talk about them here in just a minute. We will talk about them in just a minute. All right, so this is Mark wanting me to look at his tornado.
Yes.
Hey, the loop is on, okay. All right, so Mark, I think you've got the right idea here. I think the tornado is swinging okay. I think the lightning is okay. It looks like you could maybe connect it. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, the one thing that you may not want to do is this. I don't think that you want to have the lightning turn into magic, turn into pixie dust. I think it reads, you can see it, you can see that frame. Just let it go away.
Okay.
Just let it like zip away.
Okay.
So and this is a debris thing that's coming up into the camera here. I think that's reading okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay. Yeah.
think you need some like smoke, some like rubble smoke down where the tornado intersects the ground plane. I think that you want to really figure out what's going on with this red line right here. You could do all kinds of things. You could make it a farm or a cityscape or a suburban area and draw some silhouettes of houses and trees. And you can just use that, any of the examples we were just looking at for atmospheric perspective, just to make sure that it's not just a straight line. You can make it more interesting. All right, so I think that these clouds up here, one thing that you could do is, well, let me start at the little clouds that go around the middle. I think that on any particular frame, you want to make sure that you have clouds that are moving, that make it look like they're moving all the way around it. And so I think that you need more of them, because there's place like the very last frame where it stops right there. You definitely need some here, right? You need some in the middle. So you want to make it look like the clouds are going all the way around. So I think just a few more so that you don't have these empty frames. All right, so for these guys up here, I can't stop the loop. Like for this one right here, these clouds need some work. You've got like this kind of thing going, and I don't know that this is a good aesthetic. I think that you got to kind of remember what's going on with these clouds. They're clouds. It's water vapor and dust and all kinds of stuff up there, and it's being dragged, right? So there could be like shapes that show that they're being dragged. So rather than drawing these things that kind of look like blue Cheetos, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make them more like this. So just redraw them so that they look more like they're clouds being drawn with the wind. And it doesn't have to look exactly like this. I think that if you were to try to make them look like this, it might look kind of funny. But then again, that might not. I think that drawing like that right there might be okay, but this you might want to work on. Also, I think that the further away from the center that you go, the slower the clouds go. So get a couple that are just moving really slowly all the way around. And remember my key that I drew for everyone when we were introducing this topic is that, you know, if the clouds are moving counterclockwise, this is divided into 8. And so you can also divide it into 16. And then this gives you, when you do this, this gives you the idea of where the clouds are going to be. So if you drew a cloud that was this long, and that's just cloud number 1, and you've got 16 clouds go all the way around here, I think that this key really helps you, because then you know that, like, let's say that this cloud that I just drew right here is right, it's almost, it's a little bit past the middle. And so in Toon Boom, you would just draw this so it goes almost all the way to the side, and then you draw it stretched out, you know, whatever that little shape looks like right there, that's drawing number 1. And then this is 16, do it on its own layer, right? So this is 16. And if you find that in 16 frames on 2s, which is 32 frames, that's 1¼ seconds. And even before you do this, you could say, this is going to be 16 drawings on 4s, which is 64 frames, which is well over 2 seconds. And that might be a good sense of timing for you. So I think you should add some more debris that looks like just dots so that you get more of a sense of debris rather than just little marbles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those notes are there. Yeah, your lightning is okay. All right, did anyone else have a submission that I didn't look at? Anybody? I'm gonna refresh this. Uh-oh, someone's emailing me. Okay, yeah, that's from my other class. So just 1 second here. Refresh. All right, so I only see 4 right there. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So what I would like to do is give you a couple of heads up. Now, just to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. Some of you have bubbles in your projects already, but I just want to make sure, did I do a bubble demo for you?
No.
All right, so you is saying no. So let me do, it's really simple. I'm just going to do the bubble demo. Let me see if it's right here. All right, so it's right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find it. And you're right, Matt, I have way too many things going on in this demo folder here. Yeah, this file is located on a remote hard drive, so it takes a moment for the hard drive to wake up. I wonder where I put it. Wonder what I called it. Let me see if I can find it in the node view. I got everything identified except for the one thing I'm looking for. Strange. Okay. I could just do a new one. So I'm going to do two things for you. I'm going to show you how to move an object in Toon Boom. So this would be just for the clouds. What I'm going to do is redo this move. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to make a new layer. So this layer right here, I'm going to call it move_2, add and close. All right, now I got to go find it. Move to, where did it go? There we go. Okay, so right here on my move to layer, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create an object, and this is just really simple. I'm going to, in Toon Boom, I'm going to create this object. All right, and the object is just sitting there. It's not doing nothing. All right, and it is actually a strange shape. That's okay. It doesn't need to be anything. Out at the end of my timeline, I'm going to hit F5 to let this object be all the way out there. I'm going to go to the very first frame, and you can either right click in the timeline and say insert keyframe, or you can say F6, and that sets a keyframe. Now remember that I haven't had a chance to look at your project files over your shoulders like I do in a regular classroom. So this is the way a 2D animation should actually look, where you're just drawing. But when you're using in-betweens, that's when you use the keyframes. And so here's the method. You just put this here and you say, okay, I'm going to go all the way out to the last frame where I want this move to happen. And I'm going to hit F6 again. That creates what's called an in-between. And this line right here designates that it's an in-between. If you have this kind of dark black line here going from one keyframe to the other keyframe, and there's no movement here, you're actually doing it incorrectly. What you use this for is this tool right here, which is the transformation tool, which is not always obvious. And remember that there's different states here. There's the regular arrow, there's the size arrow, there's the rotation arrow. There's actually a pivot point where this actually has the little P in it, which I don't see. And so once you see this little move tool, grab it and just move it. If you want to constrain this, hit the shift key, and that should in fact allow for a move to happen. So when you move through the timeline, now you've created a move. And remember that you have to have your cursor on this keyframe here in order, because if you had the cursor on a keyframe on any other frame accidentally, it would create an intermittent key right where you moved it from. And so you want a clean move. All right, so once you've done this, and you can hit play just to check it, that there is now a move happening with that, and it's moving at a very constant rate. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is hit the first key, and then use this tool right here, which is the set ease tool, and you'll get a dialog box. And just kind of look at what's happening. You're going from position 1 to frame 1 to frame 81, and it's moving in an X coordinate. If you grab this little red arrow, you can say, hey, I want this to be an ease. So you're going to move more slowly and then into this move. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's just say apply and close and see what our animation looks like now. So it starts out slow and then it gathers up momentum. So we could have done the second part of this just right a moment ago, or we could do it now. So now that the last key is selected, I'm going to hit this ease tool again. You're going to see that it's different. It's the same movement, but now you're seeing it from the viewpoint of the last keyframe. So it's easing into this position on frame 88. Now, if I grab the red arrow and make the ease tool an S shape, what actually happens, and make sure you don't do this, because then you'll get something funky happening. Just make it a traditional S shape. And again, this is applying ease in and ease out to an object. So let's just say apply and close. Now that's kind of an anomaly in Toon Boom where you're hitting the apply button, but it's not telling you that it did anything. It should give you a response, but there's no response. Hit close, and now go back to the first frame and play and see what the motion looks like. It eases into it, and then it slows down. So that's how you're adding ease in and ease out with a move tool. Remember, you have to use this transformation tool in order to do that. In this project here, I've used that for these clouds in the background. And there's a couple of things to think about here. When I hit play, you can see that I've got one cloud moving faster than the other. So I'm giving a sense of depth. I can also see that I've created a transparency, which is just in demo mode. I don't know if I would really want that cloud to be transparent like that. It was just a demo thing. But if I hit loop and then play, you can kind of see that once I get to the end of the timeline, the clouds are going to jump all the way back. So one way to handle this, if you can kind of parse this idea, would be is that on my cloud layer, if I had the cloud starting here, and then they're going to go all the way off the screen by the end of the shot. But then in this keyframe, if there were new clouds over here that haven't appeared yet, they would appear to cycle indefinitely, if you can understand that. Otherwise, I think it's fine. It's just you working on a demo. Let me see if I can. Let me do it this way. So in this demo here, I don't know if I'll be able to do this cleanly because it's just going to jump. So what I'll do is I'm going to zoom into this. And I'm going to zoom, I'm going to move it over just a little bit so that, oh, hold on. So if I zoom in and play loop, what you'll see is that the cloud goes off completely, and then as it's looping, it comes back on again. So you see what I mean by, so the idea would be is that you just got one object moving, but it loops because it comes off the stage, it comes from off the stage and goes off the stage. It's like those cartoons that you might be watching where Fred Flintstone's feet are just kind of moving underneath him and the window keeps going around and around and around. All right, so that is how you move something in Toon Boom. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bubble demo for you here. And it's kind of interesting, once I had this computer fixed, this file did not break on me, so that's actually a good thing. So I'm gonna just do a brand new bubble 8. Always add vector and close. Okay, so here's my bubble drawing, and I'm just going to do it over here. Now remember that in this file, there's a couple of things happening. I think that this example of this fire right here was taken off an example on my social media. And when I animated, I only painted the first frame of it. And I did the water demo right there for you. And there's a bubble demo right here, which I'm going to redo it for you because I can't seem to remember what layer I put it on. All right, so I'm going to do this demo off over here. All right, so we should always do a little bit of research here. So what I'm going to do is just change this to Yellowstone. And mud bubbles. This is the one that I'm looking for. So they're slow, some are a little quicker, some are small, some are a little faster. The close-ups are great. That one's great. See it there? These are great. So, and even though it's moving in real time, you can still see those frames in there. You know, so that's great. That's the kind of mud, that's the kind of bubbles that I would be looking for. From the interpretation in the class, I think that it just makes sense to use that kind of an example rather than just the bubbles that you may see in The Sword and the Stone. So I'm just going to see if we can get this one really quickly. So in this shot right here, if you wanted to use, like for your final, if you wanted to use bubbles, kind of look at this. Oh, hold on a second, everybody. Oh, I just forgot. Hold on. All right. We will know immediately after I try to post this from the class whether that little 2 seconds violates copyright. All right. So back to Toon Boom. All right. So here we're just going to go back to frame number 1. Toon Boom, wake up. All right, we're going to start on frame number 1 right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this light blue color right here. And I'm just going to kind of draw a rough grid, my perspective grid. Because the trick to doing the bubbles here is to just make sure that you're doing things in the proper perspective. So I'm going to pick like this square right here. All right. And I'm just going to draw my bubble right on top of it, just so that we get the idea. The bubble can start out being small, like this, and then on 2s, oh, my onion skin on. On 2s, it grows a little bit. It's really simple. On 2s again, open up the onion skin. It grows even a little bit more. And then by the 4th drawing, this line right here grows just a little bit, but the away line now starts to get air in it. So I'm just going to draw this coming up. And now you can see why this is just a little bit more interesting. All right, so you okay, Mark?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry.
All right, so this is gonna get just a little bit wider and come up towards camera just a little bit more. This is a rough, so I would go back and clean it up. And now it's going to come to a full half circle right there. I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit. I'm going to go out on 2s one more time. And this position is going to be the start of the pop of the bubble. And so right here, and I realize I'm zoomed in at 125%. So somewhere around here, the surface tension breaks. I'm actually going to switch just to a pencil so I get a cleaner line. And I want it to be thinner. All right, so somewhere around right here, the surface tension breaks. And the reason why I like the mud bubble here is that it gives you a chance to play with just a little bit more slowness of the bubble itself popping rather than just the other one that I'll show you in just a moment. All right, so draw the near side and give yourself room to see what's happening on the other side. You could actually paint this another color. And just by the rules of variety, make sure that you can see that. Go to the next frame out here. And then it just moves downward. So this moves down. It's going back into the place where it came from. This can already be down there. It doesn't have to change shape too much. The away side starts to read a little better. Pick up on the perspective where you drew. If you can draw this little line right there, if you need it, go backwards a frame and draw that line. You don't need that line there. So in this, so go out to another frame on 2s. Let's go backwards here and make sure that we add this line in on all our drawings. This was the near edge where it started to pop. Next one. All right, so now this is almost all the way down to the surface. And you don't want all these parts to end at the same time. Now we can see the away perspective and these little ridges of the water, the bubble are going downwards. Go out on 2s again and just kind of let this be the oval in perspective that it is. Let it live on 2s. What we're going to do is we're going to shrink it just a little bit. Oops, hold on. And remember, this is rough, so I'll go back and clean this up. So you can see I've got 10 or 12 drawings here. Now I got to go back in here and let's look at this. Going through this keyframe, the bubble comes up and it goes down. Good, so let's go backwards here. And you can see from our reference that there were little spheres of bubbles that, just like our water splash, that happens within the bubble too, but to a lesser extent. So right here, as this water is going down, what we can do is we can say, hey, you know what? Let us, on this frame right here, create somewhere where there's a good silhouette, where there's like a little droplet of mud, and let that droplet fall downwards. But then let's have a secondary pop. Like the idea would be is that the gas was a complete sphere, and what has happened is that sphere popped, and because it popped, there was a little bit of mud that's right here that's now going upwards. And so on this frame right here, where actually it was this frame right, yeah, this frame right here where it pops, there was the surface tension is pushing up a sphere, a smaller sphere of mud that's going to be right here. And so if we draw it right here, we won't be able to see it. But on this frame, what we can do is we can say there's going to be a secondary little bubble right here, which continues upwards, goes upwards a little bit. It can lose a little bit of volume, comes to a stop, it comes to a vertical stop. It can come to a couple of pieces and then starts to go down again. Speeds up a little bit and then goes downwards. So now what we would do is we would take, I'm gonna make this on 2s. Oops, hold on. All right, so you can see I've got like 32 frames out here. What I need to include now is this oval part here, or this one here. So I'm just going to take this little oval and copy it, and I'm just going to paste it on these subsequent frames. Oops, it looks like I only got part of it. That's okay. So let's do the back side. All right. So let's just limit our playback here just to the 31 frames, 32 frames that we've got. Let it loop. All right, so this is just the mud bubble, right? And that's on 2s. There's 16 drawings. It makes sense. I'm sorry that I switched from my paintbrush to the pencil brush, but that's how you would do this. That's just a typical mud bubble. Now on this same timing here, no, actually I'll do it on another layer. So what you saw with the Disney bubble popping is that this is going to be B7. This is just going to be a bubble popping. So we're going to add and close. And so for this one, you literally just, you could just use your circle tool and say, I've got a circle, and then I'm going to just use the command key to copy this and paste it, and then move it. And then, or you could just do the thing that we just did and move it with the transformation tool. But it might be more fun to just copy, paste, move, and so you can get it to be a little bit more organic. Copy, paste, move, copy, paste, move. You do whatever you want. You have it go up and down. You could change this to be on 4s. And then you can pop it. So at this point, with your pencil tool, and if you study the Disney video, you can see that there's just a few frames where the bubble just pops. So it comes into this position here and it loses its surface tension and it just turns into little droplets. It's good to try to maintain some semblance of the sphere itself. And then this becomes on 2s. And then the surface tension brings these guys together more like droplets. And then on 2s, they just fall and become rain. And in just a few frames, they speed up. and drop off the screen. You can see that this version here is just really simple. The idea would be is that you could go in here and put a little highlight. You could put a little shadow on there if you want. Now, if I do it this way, instead of copying and pasting it, this little highlight and shadow might shimmer a little bit, and it might be something that you want. You can paint the highlight and shadow colors. You could go in there and paint this whole sphere with a radial gradient. There's all kinds of fun things you can do right there. So let's just take a look at what this. So I think that this bubble here is moving. It's moving too. Let me see. No, it's okay, but that's the simple one. That's the one that you see in the Sword and the Stone. The idea would be is that in the Sword and the Stone, there's just hundreds of them. That's not what I want. These are two different bubbles right there, and it's just really kind of easy to comprehend. All right, so that was simple enough. All right, so let's take a look at your sketches. Got something in my eye. Got 6 of them in there. All right, Charlie, are you going to do smoke and rain on the window, which is fine.
Do you want to share your screen again?
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I could just sit there and let you all imagine.
I mean, I can try to see the reflection on your face, but not effective.
Okay, so are you going to animate that character, or is he just going to?
Yeah, I think I might have him shake it a little bit, and then it'll explode on him.
Okay. All right. So a couple of things that I would recommend. It might be fun in the background to have rain just kind of falling at a 30-degree angle in the background.
Okay.
And then use that flash that we talked about. So just here with this shape right here, right? Just from whatever we can see here, use the white, black, white, like we did for our explosion.
Yeah.
And when you get to the white frame, you might want to go in here and do just the rim lights of the things in the lab that get lit up by the white. And so this white is white right here, but then there's also, and you could do the creepy thing where you do the eyes, and you could add all kinds of little details where the white frame isn't just a white frame right here, but it's like all kinds of little bits inside there. So that's the first thing. That's the second thing. The rain here is really easy. This rain, just have them drop slowly. So on 4s, have these little droplets go just down the window. I think that would be fine. Another thing to do would be is to kind of think about the water coming down the window in like little sheets.
Okay.
So you could have a shape like that animating, and it changes. It goes from this shape to kind of a more drippy, droopy shape like this. All right, so yeah, you got the idea with the steam, that's good. And the explosion, this is the thing that's going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just use that thing that we talked about with our explosion here. You know, and then yeah, he turns all black, and then lightning. Okay, so I think that'll be good. I think that you could even start working on it. Take these sketches up to more of a layout kind of size. I could have drawn on that one a bit easier.
Mm-hmm. How
right.
many little effects do you want minimum?
Well, the thing says 3, but for
Oh,
us,
okay.
I think I start with 4 or 5. Right. I think that even in yours, you could add something a little bit more mystical, which would be the idea that after the explosion has happened, that maybe there's like this little plasma orb that just kind of like hovers for a second up and down and then just kind of goes off the screen. I don't know. I think that it might be interesting or more artistic to keep the orb either separate or just I don't know. We can talk about that in a little bit. But
Okay.
3 or 4. All right, Rodrigo. All right. So you've got water and bubbles. My suggestion here would be is to always default to a good sense of perspective.
Right.
And I'm waiting for Zoom to wake up again. Come on, Zoom, wake up. So remember your focal points. You know, game, animation, film, we always worry about our focal points. So you haven't hit any of those. If you did move this over a little bit because you wanted this smoke to be more readable, I think that would be fine. It's not that, but remember that the idea would be as a variety of shapes. You're always going to be better off working with a variety of shapes. I think just now that I'm doing this one for you, it might be interesting to try something like this, where you get a variety of shapes here and work in some places where there's holes in the smoke. And remember that I'm not just drawing these randomly because this gives you a chance to animate this hole, into this hole, into this one, into this bigger hole up here, right? All right, so what is this? Is this another wispy smoke?
I was thinking of having like something like shoot out like a pixie dust type of thing.
Okay, that would be fine. But for the sense of perspective, give this a nice oval. Give the glass a dimension so that it has a thickness to it. I think that it might be a better aesthetic to make the rim on the beaker a little smaller here. Yeah, and I think that this fire is going to be really easy. So the sequence on this fire is just that you get 1, you get 2, you just get it to flicker, you get it to move around. It's just really easy. There's like 4 or 5 shapes repeating. All right, so this pixie dust here could be interesting, right? I also think that what you could add to it is kind of a mystical orb kind of look to it. And what happens is that this starts as pixie dust and then the orb comes out. And these are moving too, these are pulsing. And think about the idea of what they might sound like, and then maybe it breaks through the window and then you can do breaking glass right through the window. And at that point, after this little guy goes out the window, you can have a white, black, white flash, and then it starts to rain. And then there's another lightning bolt out there. And then again, I think that you can all borrow that same thing where instead of the white, black, white just being a replacement for these window parts, is that you make a black card and then the white is the silhouette, the rim of this flask. Put some things on the table here that mean something. And have these little rim lights here. You've got a really big open space right here in the very middle. So figure something out to do with it right there. Okay. That was Rodrigo. Okay, thank you, Rodrigo.
Mm.
Simran.
I'm here.
Okay, so watch your perspective here.
Yeah.
So follow all your rules of the art. And once again, I'm just waiting for Zoom to wake up. So are you good? Do you want to animate this guy?
I was just thinking of just keeping them there and then having like the bubbles and like smoke come from the chemistry lab, like for the beakers and stuff.
Focal points.
Yeah.
It might be easier to put your lab table like this.
Mhm.
And that means that your vanishing point is here and that your room has a deeper perspective to it. Put your guy over here.
Mhm.
And then you have a whole bunch of room to play with. So in this composition, you can have a window, or let's say that this is like a blackboard. Let's say that it was a classroom. And then this thing on the wall here, watch your vanishing point. So this sign would point towards the vanishing point. So follow the rules of 1 point perspective. And then at this point, your beaker can be really big right here, this thing. It can be more like a pot. If it's bubbling, you can put the fire underneath it. This beaker right here, it can be kind of on a tripod. It can be right here. There can be other things right here. And then you've got tons of room for your smoke, right?
Mhm.
And then think about just all the other stuff. So you have bubbles and smoke, but something can happen in here. You got the blackboard, you've got the wall, you've got this little area right here. So it's good to start thinking about this now so that you have a couple weeks to really put this together.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Mark. Oh yeah, so just watch your perspective. In order to make this more interesting, don't have things. One of the rules of animation is to not just have everything parallel. That's weird. I got my tools. Oh, that's yours. Come on, Zoom. I mean, I'm glad it's working today, but come on, Zoom. So remember your focal points. So if you wanted to keep her on screen right, I think that's fine, but have this table be more like this. And then if you want the cauldron, you could keep the cauldron kind of in the same place, but use this as the perspective for the table. What is this thing? Is it like a beaker or something? Test tube? Simran. All right, and then use perspective back here too.
Yeah.
So have your little frog sitting. This could be interesting. I like the idea of stuff whirling out of the cauldron. I think that you can use the popping bubbles right here, but I think that you could also do a really cool thing that instead of just having the bubbles pop like we just did, right? So have the bubbles pop, but then have pixie dust, have them turn into little magical pixie dusts, and the pixie dust falls. And I also think that would be really cool. So these little whirling things here have little pixie dust on them as well. Are you in animation or game? Answering me. The other thing that you could do is if you are animation is you could have her motion with her hand with a magic wand to start all of this. So it's not just cycling, it's like a little narrative. All right, Alex, sorry. All right, so Alex, make sure you're working in 16:9 ratio. Right now your sketch is square, and it affects just your composition. So this is interesting. You've got the little bubbling cauldron, and then what's going on up here?
Oh, I wanted to like animate an orb exploding, like coming out, and then
Right.
probably having the pixie dust behind it.
Yeah, I like that idea. All right, so make sure that you redo this for a horizontal 16:9 composition.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Zane. All right, so it looks interesting here, Zane. But the problem is that you haven't given yourself any room for effects. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about the smoke going up, and
That's true, but you've only given yourself 1/3 of the vertical. So one way that you can adjust this a little bit is to put your camera the other way. So your camera is like it's at like a dog eye view down here. So you put your camera up here in a bird's eye view and reverse your perspective so that the room you're looking down on it. So that the cauldron, that you're seeing the top of the cauldron, and that she's on her little thing here. So put her down. And so now you've got all kinds of room to play with. See what I mean?
Okay.
So smoke and explosion and an orb, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe something in the back on the top of the table.
Okay, maybe glass breaking as well.
Yeah.
All right, I don't see any more in there. I'm gonna refresh my.
I have to refresh the page because I posted mine. It's in there too.
All right, I'm gonna refresh the page. Oh, I see 3 more. Okay. All right, Justin.
Yeah, so it's going to, like, my thing is going to be like there's going to be dust falling from the ceiling, and it's going to be like an earthquake. The vial, or like the little glass thing on the shelf, is going to tip down into the funnel, and the fluid's going to run down the tube, drip into the little one, and then there's going to be an explosion, and then the book's going to be on fire when it's done.
Oh, the book is going to turn on fire. Okay. So I think that what you've got here is a mix of no perspective and then isometric perspective right here. And I think that that's fine if that's what you want to go for. Just make sure that you know that that's what you're doing. Do you know what isometric perspective is?
Yeah, I threw the book in there because I didn't want it to just be flat.
I know, but play with the idea of isometric perspective. If you remember when you were a kid, Richard Scarry, he did Huckle Cat and Lowly Worm. All of these drawings were done with isometric perspective. And he used it intensively, very heavily. It's just something to think about. It's just a graphic treatment. All right, continue to work on this because this needs to be more in screen right here. Remember what we talked about, that there's action safe and title safe. So bring this shelf down so that it's in camera more. All right, got it? Sharon.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is your little magical orb. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, this looks like exactly what I was looking for. Lightning, and make sure you use that same technique where, yeah, you can flash this window, but as soon as this window turns white, give everything in the interior of a little rim light as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good. There's lots of fun stuff working here. Good.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, you.
Yes.
Okay. So explain what I'm looking at. I think I see what you're doing, but explain.
Yeah, I will design like the pixel dust, and then the lightning hit the ball, and then the ball fell. Probably I will add a explosion when the lightning hit the ball, and then fall down, and then touch the wood, give the fire and the smoke, and then jump again to the water, and then give the water splash, and then little bit smoke, or not smoke, I can see, although.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's instead of looping, it's just more narrative. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Okay. Okay. So a couple of things. Matt, you didn't have a sketch for me?
No, I'm still thinking things out.
Okay, no worries. If you post something in the class in that same folder, I will reply as quickly as I can.
Okay. And
So
so
I'll
for
just try to.
for the final, we want different effects or the same stuff?
No, I think that an explosion and bubbles and smoke, it's the same kind of things that we've been doing, but just a different composition.
Okay.
Just like what you saw with you doing right there. I mean, that it kind of looks like the volcano setup, but that's okay. I would say that just try to be as creative as you can. The idea of a chemistry lab or something like that is fine. And as we go through the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about orbs, right? Orbs and breaking glass. We haven't talked about breaking glass yet. So, and I did this early so that you all have a couple weeks to change or adjust this as we go through the next couple weeks. All right, so for next week, you all still have polishing to do on your tornado and your volcano. That is okay. Remember that those grades I put in the grade book go away. What matters is what's written on my little piece of paper over here. So continue polishing your tornado and your volcano. And I'm going to let you go a little early because I have a meeting to go to at noon. Does anyone have any questions right now? The final you should be thinking about should have 4 or 5 effects in it. And remember, breaking glass and orbs can certainly be added to what you're doing.
I haven't seen any grades.
I put them in there.
Okay.
Your midterm, your progress 1 and your midterm grades were posted.
All right, I'll see if I can uncover them in the LMS.
Do you know where they are? I mean, I think they're in a different place for you than where they are for me.
Well, I thought I did, but I guess not.
They are there.
If you go to your home, like click on the little home page where you see your profile, and then underneath it, it's like you should see something that says grades on it. You just got to click there, and it should give you a list for.
Yep, got it. Thanks.
For all the classes, yeah. And then the little drop down box right there will have all of your classes in it, so you can just change.
I put some comments in there too.
I see.
All right. All right, we're gonna let you go a little early today. We'll see you all next week.
Bye, Billy.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Okay,
Okay.
ciao for
For
now.
the feedback. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao for now.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye.